That might just not be that long.
I was like, I've never seen that kid ready for staying or something like that, or a day
One of the options of the city council is
Yeah, it's virtually impossible.
Who was it, Suzanne Summers? Have y'all
And
been touching
there
on
wouldn't be,
tidbits of news
yeah, I
about
think that
her?
we shouldn't
Oh, yeah.
just leave it up
She's, you know, she's
for
totally
whatever.
healthy stuff.
Some people should show up, but
She said,
Like
I'm so living
very.
I was surprised. I thought maybe
Oh,
It's a good idea.
I did not recognize him. I used to, I sat with him at Rotary lunch for like 10 years.
you know we have a new one now. Yes. I didn't even realize.
New chief.
We have a new chief from Dallas. Kurt Bergen?
Okay, well, it's basically 10, so we'll go ahead and get started. Call the meeting to order. We have a quorum.
We have a quorum of 6, and our 7th member is departing from Port Aransas as we speak on the way to Panama.
Chair wins to him. Very good.
So, just to make sure then, there are other people on the boat sailing with Scott, right?
Yes.
Yeah, you got it.
Total crew of 11.
That's a house rule, right, Jen?
wow.
Okay. Next, we were going to move into ratification of the meeting minutes.
Move that we approve the minutes as posted, or we've already approved them, so approve the approval of the minutes.
All right. Yes.
The electronic approval of the minutes.
Okay. Randy seconds. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, and we have a second motion to record, and it came out of the executive session on Wednesday night. And what I'd like to do is spend just a couple of minutes, excuse me, setting a context for you before I give you the information on the motion. Basically, we have two alternatives concerning the landing. The first one was real easy. The power went on a week ago Friday. So let's open it up. Party time, just where we were on October 16th before the power went out on October 17th. So that's one alternative, and we looked at that. The second alternative is to say, well, the Chinese symbol for crisis is the same as the Chinese symbol for opportunity, it is said. So we said, where's the opportunity in this downtime we've had, and what are our needs? Well, one of the big needs is the building is not ADA, American Disability Act, legal. If you come into the parking lot, you can't get down, you're disabled, you can't get down to the building. If you're on the main floor, you can't get up to the monkey bar. If you're on the main floor, you can't get down to the ballroom downstairs. We're not compliant. So that's one need we thought about. Another one is, and this is working with Kemper, what are some of the opportunities regarding the space? Supposing the ballroom was a little bigger, we could accommodate a bigger group. And there's a whole tier of very lucrative outings that we can't take advantage of right now because we don't quite have the space to do that. So we're looking at that. So, T, why don't you pull this up? We're looking at a timeline as we develop alternative two. We started working on this Wednesday morning, and on the left side, you probably can't read this, but on the left side, it has milestones like the power went on January 10th. We worked out some details with Kemper. They will have a list about 3/4 of the way across are some of the possibilities for improvements and corrections. And that list will be sorted out by next Friday and prioritized. We have an architectural design construction firm, that's a local firm that's been in business the founder's been in business for nearly 50 years. And they will, within a week, turn that list that Kemper gives us into a cost estimate. And then we'll figure out what we can do and what our financing will be. And we'll start to answer some of the questions between now and a soft opening at some point in the future. So that has turned into, from that chalkboard, has turned into a detailed list in just a few days, and we will have the first step or the next step to take on Friday of next week. So we are working alternative two to make the landing everything it can be, make it ADA compliant, and get it open. So that's where we are. Evan, there's some dates on the tail end of the sheet to kind of say what our best guess is right now. You want to wait till we have?
Yeah, I want to wait till we have, in about a week or two,
Okay.
I think we're going to have a lot better handle on it. What we want to make sure that we do is not overpromise and underdeliver. We want to make sure that when we get clarity on a date or some ranges, that we can bring that to you and we feel a lot better about it versus changing it on you later. So everyone, including the board, since we're including the board, since we're neighbors in the community as well, we want to be up there too. I was just talking with Virginia last night about it. Like, it'll be really nice to start date nights up again and be able to just kind of go down there and whatnot. It's good to see the lights on, but I just want to be really careful on providing any date. I want to think about it more as phases. Like, we're in this phase, the next phase will give us a lot of the details and start being able to move forward, and then we'll have a better idea on it.
Good.
I think it's also important to note that the same, if we open up today or tomorrow, the same problems will be there. We have to address that kitchen floor. We have to. We have no choice. It's what kind of potentially started the fire to begin with the water. So we have to look at those things.
In the meanwhile, and we're going to probably talk towards this, but I'll give a little precursor. We've been doing some other prep work, working at trying to figure out the smell aspect of it so we can eliminate that once and for all. And it was found that the grease trap for the kitchen, we excavated all of that around there, and the pipes were running the wrong way. So we've been told that might have been a big aspect of the smell, along with some older plumbing, but anyways. So there's still some other forward things that we're trying to work on and get done, but the plumbing side of things is a big part of we put that more on the have to column so that we can have that done for once and for all. So.
Okay, so that was designed to set the context for this motion, which was passed in the executive session last Wednesday. It was moved by Randy and seconded by Lee that Chip be authorized to negotiate architectural design for the landing improvements and corrections with Mershon, which is the local firm I mentioned, limited to $15,000 or less. So he will be working with Mershon when they put together the cost estimates and the priorities on our list, which should be available by February 1st. So we just need to confirm that.
Yeah, ratify that.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion, we ratify the motion to engage Mershon Services from Wednesday.
I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, that takes us to the first owner visitor forum. So you're up. If you have any questions.
Can you disable the doorbell while we have?
That'd be great.
We used to do that.
Oh, really? Okay. Well, then we'll talk with you later about how that went on.
We unplugged it.
Okay.
I'd like to mention something about the club. Something you might consider is when it is, get soft opening as soon as possible during the renovations possibly, after the plumbing and all those major things are fixed. I'm on a lot of construction projects, hospital expansions, where they add new floors. They do all this work, they don't close the hospital, they just kind of work around it. So just something to consider.
I have a question. Deborah Morrison, 436 Columbia. What all would make us ADA compliant? Would that mean an elevator that would go all the way up, all the way down to the monkey bar and everywhere else? Where would it go in at?
Well, I think I could just speak to that just at a high level. So restrooms, parking, the elevator, that's one of the things we'll be discussing with architects where that'll all work in. Potentially the stairwell downstairs, so there are many facets of that that we'll be working with them on a plan to make those modifications so that we comply with the law. So
Are we working with an architect?
Yes.
Or- okay,
Yeah,
good.
that was the
Good.
motion that we just.
Motion.
yeah.
Rick Morrison at 436 Columbia. Is the city involved in this?
They will be. We've had some preliminary discussions with them. We'll have to have some additional with them. This all would be permitted and handled correctly with permits and their input on it. So.
Any other questions?
You know,
Can we have your name, please?
Sorry. Louise Shane. I live on Volunteer Place. And as I observe businesses for like the last 40 years, the ones that end up being successful over a long period of time make themselves they're very successful before they start expanding and expanding and expanding. I mean, I think that rather than we start expanding, why don't we make the landing the very best that it can be? And when you walk in there, you feel like you're in a luxurious place. And instead of expanding and nobody's coming anyway, so now we expand and now it's a bigger place that nobody really wants to come to. So I think we should make it as successful as we can be with what we've got and then move on from there. And rather than spend all the money and go, nobody wants to come, so why do we spend all this money?
Well, we have some legal requirements. Your points are well taken, and that's
Right,
exactly
well, I
what we're
agree with
trying.
you on that.
Well, that's really what we're trying to do. I think what Bruce referenced, there are other potential opportunities, and so those are just things, they're under consideration. Doesn't mean we're going to do them or not do them. We're just looking at it. So that's where we are. But we need to take care of the requirements to meet the current codes.
But the other part of that, as far as making it look luxurious and nice, that is all part of this. It is making it look cohesive again instead of it being chopped up. But there is some wisdom to doing some of, like for instance, demo portions of things, doing that all for one, like at the very beginning, so that we don't have that kind of dust going through the facility. That's very hard to contain. So we're trying to make sure that we make a wise decision on when we do things and whatnot, so that it's the best for the neighborhood moving forward and for the facility. Anybody else?
I've got one other question, or one other thing to bring to light. This is going to be an ongoing business, and you guys will be coming and going every year.
Mm-hmm.
How do we get a focus group so everybody stays on the same page?
Yeah, so that's the reason that Kemper is in the mix, because Kemper essentially will run that in the same way that we hire security, and they run that. We have contact with them, but they take care of it, and that gives the consistency so that when a new board comes in, if they want to do this or that, they can't just go in and destroy something that was already working as well. So Kemper gives the consistency down there no matter what board comes and goes, because they're going to be running the restaurant for all of us.
How long are we gonna engage Kemper?
So
It starts February 1,
February 1.
but and then it's a 2-year out.
Yeah, we have a 5-year, right, Bruce, 5-year agreement with them, but we have trigger points in there, if we wanted to opt out of them, or they want to, so, those are all provisions within the agreement.
What's the cost per month?
It's around $9,000 for their management.
Have we been paying that ever since September?
No,
They gave us a break because we were closed.
we were in a consultant phase.
We're in, the consulting phase was less money.
Melissa Short, 105 Independence Place. Is Kemper covering any of the costs? Was there any incentive for them to, as far as making the building ADA compliant, or as far as management?
They're managing it for us. They are not coming in and running the facility. We still own the facility, so we're not selling or even leasing the facility to them. We're just bringing them in to manage. So
They're not discounting any services in a sense, as far as us going in and having to become ADA compliant or make repairs or anything like that.
no.
Jim Brewer, 420 Columbia. And I don't want to go into all the details with the relationship with Kemper, that's what we trust you to do. But is there compensation tied to the profitability of landing?
Yes.
Yes, it's
There's a profit sharing, and so there's an incentive for them and there's an incentive for us.
Thank you.
And we get more of the profits than they do, significantly more.
So if another board comes in, they can't get rid of them, or they put,
I mean, they can. The thing that we want to, they can, depending on where we're at in the contract with them. But that said, we want to be careful not to, again, get in there and start tweaking with it, because you could get a different board every 3 to 5 years, considerably different. And if they have different ideas or whatever, what we're trying to do is remove our tinkering with it, because it's no one's specialty. And so we need people that are in the industry that know what they're doing, and that actually, it's almost like it protects us from ourselves as far as the neighborhood is concerned. Just let them run it and make sure they run it well. And if they don't, that's a different discussion. But I'm fairly certain they can run it a lot better than we can, especially as a volunteer. No board member should have to put in 80 hours a month for free. And that's what we've been doing to try and keep everything afloat and answer everyone's questions and whatnot. And that's incredibly taxing for a volunteer position. And we can't be guaranteed that in 10 years, whatever version of the board we have, will be willing to do that sort of time investment. So if we want the amenity to run the way that it should, we have to lighten the load here so that we can just be making the high level decisions, and people that run restaurants and run club facilities that know what they're doing, they take care of that.
So I love the fact that they're incented to make this successful. On the flip side of that, if it is not successful and it's not profitable for the association that run, certainly that's not an outcome we expect. But is there triggers in the contract where we've got some outs if it's not working?
Yes, I think that's.
We have a 2-year out.
We have a 2-year out.
We have 2 years
Yeah.
to see how it does, and if it's not profitable, we have that option.
I'm sorry, what is your name, please, sir?
Jim Brewer.
Oh, I'm Jim
That was-
Brewer,
that was-
420
I
Columbia.
can't see, so same one, thank you.
Anybody else?
so they'll be hiring the manager and employees?
Yes.
And actually all of the employees, manager, everything will be on
Holding them
their,
accountable.
they'll be on their payroll, not ours. so there's some other good protections.
They'll be going
from us.
through all the training with them, all the things that you should do to be compliant. Nothing will fall through the cracks. They'll be managing all of it.
Well-
Inventory controls, everything.
Yeah, right, yeah. Get the
This
picture.
is what you want.
Yeah,
Trust me.
for sure.
Yeah.
After what I've gone through the last year and hearing all the complaints and sitting down with individuals one-on-one, this is what we need, this is what we want.
Yeah.
Hi, Susan Taylor, 420 Columbia. Is there even a guesstimate as far as the opening? I mean, are we talking about this spring or next year or?
I don't think, I think I can firmly say we're not talking about
We're
next
not,
year.
no,
Not at all.
we're not talking about, there's a lot of rumors going on out on social media and things, and they're just rumors. I think it would be unfair to all of us and unfair to the architectural firms and the other engineering firms that we're engaged with right now to throw dates out there, but it's not weeks, it's months. And we'll have a better feel in the next 2 weeks. And just please be patient. Everybody here wants it as open just as badly as everyone else does. But the amount of time, we're not complaining about the time.
Right.
But Wednesday, for example, most of us started at 8:30 in the morning Wednesday, and we got out of here with a few breaks during the day. We were still here at 8:45 Wednesday night. So, not complaining about it. There's just a lot that's going into this that needs to be handled correctly. We appreciate, the leadership, Russ and others in the past when we purchased the club. Those things are all important. They did a great job with what they did, but there's more now that needs to be done, and we need to do it while we have this. It's a slow time,
Yeah.
so.
Good, okay.
Phil.
Phil Bishop, 333 Columbia. Before we ever opened, when we purchased and did some renovations to the club, we had a kind of around July the 4th party when we actually didn't even have, we couldn't get in the club. We had a celebration on the deck in the patio. Can we do that this year?
There's lots of
Yeah,
discussions.
there's a lot.
Fireworks committee is.
Tim has offered to get his TABC license,
Yeah,
please
so-
get hers, we're all gonna bartend for you.
Because honestly-
Don't you worry.
Well, you did a good job last time.
We're
Honestly-
coming,
honestly,
we're coming to help
Heavy
you.
We're working on that. We need to dispose of, there's a lot of alcohol that needs to be disposed of.
I'll even bring down my pop in the bar,
So,
so. I'll
but
be-
yeah, these are things that we're looking at. We're just, I'll talk a little bit more about it when we get to that on the agenda. There's just some things, some trigger points in the next week or two that we need to get by.
I'm gonna piggyback on that though, and to that point, it has been discussed with Kemper to have small samplings of the menu and all that kind of stuff as we get along in this process. So having the residents come down and have a sample night and some other things, so that's all part of this, it's wrapped into this process. So the goal is the earliest opportunity without short-circuiting a good process, the earliest opportunity we can get it open, that's what we want to do. And we can do some other soft opening type stuff or preliminary stuff in the meanwhile. We're going to try and make this, we're going to try and ease the pain as much as possible and make it fun process as much as possible for everyone.
Alcohol helps with all
It
that.
does.
And we're not gonna miss an opportunity to have a holiday dinner party, so.
Right.
And the other thing, Phil, and I think you can, I don't think Tony's here, but I think you can agree with this, that you and the fireworks team is committed to 4 shows a year, is that correct?
Or more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and that being New Year's Eve, Memorial Day, 4th of July, and Labor Day.
And of course, maybe one special, just maybe for my birthday, but I haven't got approval of that yet.
And the only reason why New Year's Eve wasn't done this year, because they looked at it, is because of the liability with the club being dark, with no lights down there. We didn't want any residents to be hurt, no restroom facility, I mean, the whole thing. So, I think that's what you all agreed about, correct?
Yeah, it just
So-
made no sense to try to pull that
Yeah.
off.
Those aren't fun decisions, but they're the right decisions.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So, we're excited for hopefully Memorial Day.
have a best guess?
We don't.
No, no, you just can't do
We
that.
really don't wanna, ruin the process by putting.
That's good news, it means you don't have a worse guess either.
Yeah.
Well, just because of what's been going on down there, and construction is kind of my background, so to give you an example, the power's up and running, and as we kind of figured, there are issues, not all, there's little glitches in the system. When they energize a building like that, there are certain circuits that may not work properly. It's an old building, it's 45 years old or thereabouts. So we set the gas meter.
Yes, that was set.
So they went through the gas pressure test, set the gas meter, but there could maybe be things in the kitchen involving gas. So when you have a big event like that fire, it brings the city in, whether you want them to be there or not. You have the fire department, Encore, everybody's involved, and they're involved from now until the end, till we get a CO or a final inspection. So that's a given. I mean, they're involved from here on in, including the ADA thing. So those are the kind of things that everybody's trying to kind of work through.
Yeah. Anybody else?
I just have one last comment. I'm glad that Kemper's coming in, or somebody that actually understands and can manage and run restaurants. I was down there several times a week, every week since it opened. And although I liked everybody that worked there, the service sucked. Every day the service sucked. And so having Kemper in there, which as big as a company as they are, they can certainly be able to train how to wait staff and et cetera should operate. And I'm looking forward to it whenever it is.
I think it
open.
will also streamline the kitchen, get us menu items that
Right.
could come out, and that will be profitable, you know.
And the great part of the timing on it is, since we're not open yet and we're going through this phase, a company like that runs, lots of facilities like this can also guide us and say, here's what's going on in the industry, here's what we see people moving towards or away from, and so they can give us perspective that really can launch us to success for the future. So they're going to be very valuable. Anybody else? All right. Well, that was basically everything that I was going to cover as my president's. Yeah. So, all right, thanks for coming out. I really don't have much more to say than that. So we'll move to Bruce for Scott for the treasurer's report.
Yeah, I just want to give you one bottom line. I'm filling in for Scott, who's sailing, as I mentioned. We had, on January 1st of last year, 2019, we had about $250,000 in the bank. That's after taking into account things like insurance payments that have been made and having bills that haven't been paid, but net was $250,000 a little over a year ago. We increased that $150,000 in 2019. As much difficulty as we had with the club, we still increased our cash position by 60%, $150,000. It's now over $400,000. So even in a marginal year, we managed to get some traction and make some progress towards restoring our cash position. In that respect, it was a good year.
And all the financials are on Town Square for people to review.
As of Monday.
Very good. Steve, you're up.
Well, our audit prep work has started. Our audit will be in February again this year. And after our next week's meeting, the board's meeting anyway, with Kemper, then we're starting to begin our discussions about needs in the community. Mowers, security vehicles, street signs, so that will be a process that we'll be going through, other than just the landing repairs. We had 4 new homeowners in the month of December. We're beginning some minor repairs that need to be done to the pool, like the no diving on the kiddie pool. It's not the requirement, it has to be tiled in.
Darn.
I know. We have,
City requirement.
an awning frame that we're considering, replacing. We continue to work with maintenance on some of our parks and our islands. We've got color change coming up soon. I believe we've had some discussion over road repairs. Looking forward, with Gerald, are we going to move forward with the pet fair again this year? Then we have our spring garage sale and Easter and Valentine's, so we're already kind of moving into that spring thought process, and I guess into summer. So that's what's going on here in the office.
Chip?
Security, we had an all-hands meeting last Saturday morning for the Allied Universal Management came in. We had everyone in. This was at their expense. I actually manned the window for 2 hours, which was interesting on a number of fronts. So it's a little bit more entailed than you think it is. You'll see some changes in their uniforms. We're going to more of the current Allied Universal uniforms, so they're a little bit different, a little bit more noticeable. So we'll be working on that. We're continue to have speeding issues. Most of them are people that don't live in here. As much as we remind them when they come through the gate, not to speed, that the speed limit is 25. We have banned a few people from the community just based on their driving habits, and that's one of the luxuries we have. We've suspended in the last month several children that are been driving golf carts recklessly or being, I won't even get into it. So their parents got a big bill from Encore because they ran into a power box and ruined it, had to be replaced, so that'll be at their expense. But in the meantime, we've suspended their driving privileges on golf carts and their friends that live outside the community that were towing it behind their truck. So anyhow, there you have it. Other than that, everything's pretty good.
I'm going to let Chip speak more about the landing because he's, thank God, he's retired. He is CFO of a nonprofit organization called The Landing. However, I would like to take this moment to thank Chip and Bruce especially, and Evan and Randy, for going to the town hall to protect our view of what the marina wanted to build down there. They really brought the game to that meeting, and it was unanimous that they were shooting down any of these structures that they were going to put up. So big round of applause. Even though people on next door said, "Where's our board?" We knew where our board was.
Tuesday night, though, we do need to have a.
Yes.
I'm actually surprised that it's still on the agenda.
Yes.
But Tuesday night, city council meeting. It's not normally city council meetings are Monday night. It's moved to Tuesday night because of MLK Day. So we need to. It's first on the public hearing agenda, but it's a little bit of a stretched on the agenda to get to that point. But we do need to have a turnout again for that.
What time is it?
The city council meeting starts at 6.
What was the number of the people that signed the petition?
Yeah, thanks. If you're here and signed it, there were 148 individuals in the community that signed the petition, and that carried a lot of weight with the P&Z commissioners. So
Thank you.
And that was pointed out by the chairman of the P&Z. That made a big difference. And candidly, just shout out to Bruce, because he always does a great job of summing it up and closing it and giving them alternatives, and I think that really, while everyone that spoke had good, had good thoughts, Bruce put it over the top and moved it.
Yeah,
Made
thank
it-
you.
made it-
And if they can't attend the meeting, they could email David Gonzalez.
Yeah.
Okay,
Right.
we should post that.
It's still up on
It's-
Town Square from the
okay.
previous
Yeah.
one,
Okay.
and his information is included in that, as well as all of the council emails were put on the next door post as well.
Yeah, I would just say this, while we're on that topic, I would hope that there won't be any, quote-unquote retaliation from the marina, but, time will tell on that, so,
I think they were blindsided,
yeah.
by the force that the neighborhood, showed at that meeting. I really do. I don't think they were prepared for that at all.
Anything more on landing?
Just if you wanna.
I'll just
Want me
cover
to
it when I
get to it?
Okay.
Okay, alright. Social media web front, there is a new video header that starts featuring some of the things that we have to offer. That's on Facebook. So that's been done, and we'll probably have an updated version of that sometime throughout this year as well. Try and capture a few more aspects of the neighborhood. Facebook is the outward facing publicity for our neighborhood, so it's marketing basically to people that would potentially want to live here or whatever. And so we haven't done a great job with that in the past, and that's been a big focus of mine is let's change the rating. I think when I got a hold of it, we were rated 4.1 out of 5 stars, and we're now 4.8. So the media goes a long way to kind of tell that story. Moving forward, I'm going to do my best to keep that updated. It's kind of ugly right now, so as leaves come on trees and whatnot, we'll probably do another round of photos through the neighborhood, etc. But the big part of social media over the next few months is going to be really Kemper coming alongside and providing updates and sharing the vision and all that kind of stuff that will be going down at the landing. So we'll be pushing that out through social media. So that'll be a big part of that. So other than that, I'm good on that. Gonna move into old business. So the master declaration update, we are drawing that to a close. We needed a quorum of 673. We had 504 votes in favor of the proposed amendment. We had 150 votes against the proposed amendment, and we had 19 that were quorum-only votes, which did not get counted. So we did not meet the threshold, even as passionate as everyone was on both sides about that. We didn't even come close to all of the votes that came in for and against. If they had all been for, we still didn't even get enough to change the master declaration, because we need 2/3 of all residents to respond. So we're bringing that to a close, but we have some other things that we're going to do to continue to work to protect the neighborhood on certain aspects of things. But that whole situation has improved significantly, and we're very grateful for that. All right, Chip, you are up.
Okay, little update on the fire claim with the insurance company. We have some additional items that we'll be reaching out to them to cover. As Randy mentioned, so as we energized the system, we had some, found a couple of additional items. One is still pending. The other, we had a 800 amp breaker that burned up, that had to be replaced. We have some additional claims to submit for loss of income, so I'll be working on that. The fire sprinkler system, one of the big valves that controls that, during all this went bad, so that's being replaced this morning, so that we can actually get, there's literally no water at the facility at all, and that's one of the reasons we've asked everybody to stay off the property, at the best of the fire department. So hopefully after today, when that valve gets replaced, we'll be able to restore, get the sprinkler system, fire sprinkler system recharged and some of the alarms reset. We've been working most of the plumbing, which was, had to be removed over the electrical equipment. For whatever reason, there's a lot of the plumbing in the kitchen that just, as Rick knows, for helping us out initially on some things, a lot of the plumbing just terminated above the electrical equipment, which really isn't a good thing to do. So, but I want to say none of that plumbing leaked, but the floor in the kitchen has leaks in it. And so our next thing is we've removed all of the plumbing in that area. We're resetting it. We've worked in the last week, trenched all around the grease trap, pumped it out, found as Evan mentioned, some of the plumbing or the piping in the grease trap was going in the wrong direction. So that's being fixed. That should also hopefully take care of the smell. And then we will, we've started getting all the heat back on, so we have a couple of cold nights next week, and I think the city code requires anything under 40 degrees if you have a sprinklered building, so we're working to get that back in place. We do need that there. And we will have on Tuesday, we're having an engineering firm here from Heath that will actually 3D scan the building for us and the parking lot, so that we will have actual scale as-built AutoCAD files, which will help from a design standpoint. I have signed the proposal with Mershon. They're excited about getting started. And we have some additional, if you want me to just go ahead and handle that too, T. So we have some additional hail claims on the landing for gutters and the awning over the front entry. The insurance company's covered that, and we still have partial roof repairs to make, so we'll be working on that over the next 30 days, weather permitting, to get those things finished up. I think that's it.
Okay. Moving into new business. Bruce, you're going to talk to us about the short-term rental.
Yeah, let's do this. I think there'll be questions about the short-term rental, so why don't we reverse this?
Okay.
Why don't you go ahead with the labyrinth, Jan, and then I'll finish
I'd be
up.
happy to. I'd be happy.
Thank you.
Good morning, everybody.
Good.
Thank you for reading the materials I prepared for you, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have. We have a 2-page written thing, and then a diagram of the labyrinth, and then a page of.
Yeah, I was at the environmental committee.
You have
so-
that?
Thank you. You're on it with it. Yes, ma'am.
I did want to mention, and I want to provide you with a copy, but, so the common area restrictions and or approvals are difficult, if nothing else, to kind of work your way through. You look at the master deck, you look at resolutions, and I have a very positive read on it from legal that I wanted to give you. So there is the board is responsible for care and maintaining the common area. There is no restriction to having the labyrinth, if that is what the board cares to do. It's just providing that information to the community so everyone's aware.
Gotcha.
But I was going to give you a copy of it and
Clarification.
yep. It's hard to determine. That may even fall into the playground, of relocating the playground. there may not be necessarily a restriction. So,
So this, this is gonna go
Basically, right.
right up there.
Back out.
In the northwest corner, I did have a typo in the paragraph that describes where it is,
Okay.
or where I'm using it. I said northeast, it's the northwest corner.
I'll, unless there's other questions, I'll entertain I'll make a motion to, have Bruce, and Jan work out the final locations with the, environmental committee and move forward with it.
A second.
Any discussion?
What is the cost to us?
We haven't figured final, exact cost, since we're doing it with brick. The brick could cost anywhere from $350 to $850. I'm not that good at math. I've got a circumference measured, so I would know how many bricks for that, but as it goes inward, I'm going, pi equals R2D, but beyond that, so I will call a brick company and get them to work it out.
Just to give you an estimate.
Yes.
Figure about 5 brick per square foot.
Oh, that's great. Thank you.
And the rest, for shrubbery, they would be done with shrubbery, correct?
That's an addendum. That would be after the whole thing's done. That would be an extra. And I'd also someday like to have benches.
Okay.
For people to sit. Signage and bricks and whatever material we use to mark the installation path.
Now,
Chalk.
Honestly, I would like to go and tour one of these.
Absolutely.
It's hard for me to make a decision because I've never seen one. I mean,
Well-
I think I've seen one in English country photos,
Right.
but I have not experienced one. And I'd like to do that.
So in the Episcopal Church.
Exactly.
Yeah.
In the materials I mentioned, the one that's open to the public, anybody can walk it.
And I apologize, I mean, I looked at this, we got it, Thursday night, and so, but it's the first I saw of it,
Today
so I
would be a
apologize.
beautiful day to go walk the
Absolutely,
lawn.
absolutely. I mean, I think it would enhance our neighborhood, I like the idea of it, I just would like to experience one.
on the benches that you mentioned,
Mhm.
a part of the long-term vision over the next 5 years is that we could bring more benches, high-quality benches into the neighborhood, into our green spaces. And we've been talking about doing that, so this would be a nice dovetail on that. But we've been also talking about allowing people in the neighborhood to donate towards that and be able to have like a plaque and that kind of stuff, so that could work.
Dan, I know you presented this at the environmental committee and you've talked a lot about it, but can you maybe, since this is a public forum,
Sure.
kind of say why you think the labyrinth is a good idea, what the benefits are?
Oh, absolutely. You can't classify it as a religious thing, because it's not just that. It's a mind clearing, it's a fun, children love it. The difference between a maze and a labyrinth is that a maze is a puzzle, a labyrinth is a journey. And you may walk it, feel free to go walk the one at Holy Trinity by the Lake Episcopal Church just down the road. You may walk it for fun the first time, you go, wow, this is really kind of cool. And then subsequent times you might go because you needed to clear your head, or you just needed some walking, enjoying for the sole purpose of walking the path. And you can go to the center, think a minute, write something, and then walk back out. As I wrote in the materials, there's no wrong way to walk a labyrinth. If you get lost, you just walk out, and there's no harm, no foul.
We have a motion on the floor here. I would suggest maybe we amend that. I think there's a possibility of some self-funding, some private contributions, but could we amend that motion to that any money that Chandler spent would be limited or below T's signing limit?
Sure.
Okay. Could we call a motion?
Yep, I'll amend the motion to include limit to not to exceed, T's signing limit.
Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Looking forward to it.
That'll be my lunch hour.
Oh, there you go.
Let's go off the lab. We have a couple chairs up here if y'all want some.
But this is just to comment on this, this is another aspect of what can be great about our neighborhood is that we have things for everyone. And we use our spaces wisely, and we share them harmoniously. And that's a good thing, and we need to continue to move towards that. All right, Bruce,
Okay.
you're back up.
The last item of business, and then we'll open it up for the second question forum. It's a hearing on a short-term resolution for controlling short-term rentals. So I'm going to give you an excerpt of the resolution that we'll be voting on in just a minute. So everybody can see what we're talking about here. These are the cliff notes. So this resolution would be regulated under an EC provision concerning use of property, and it needs to be approved by both the EC and the board. It will apply to short-term rentals, 31 days or less. These are the two key provisions here, 3 and 4. The occupancy is limited to 2 people per bedroom. If you've got a 2-bedroom condo, 4 guests. The vehicles are limited to 1 per bedroom. 3 bedrooms, 3 vehicles. We've had, what have we had, Chip? We've had close to 20 vehicles in here.
Well, one rental, we had, over the course of, the 24-hour period, we had 50 vehicles that came into that address, not all at one time, but it was pretty extensive.
We're going to require a rental deposit, refundable rental deposit at the time of permitting. Party rentals are prohibited by both Airbnb and by CLCA. And that's been our biggest problem, is the party rentals. And another thing that's given us headaches is when 19 people show up at our pool and they belong to a 1-bedroom condo. So guests are limited to 2 per amenity, be it a community tennis court or a pool, and the owner needs to be present when the guests are present. So that's the resolution. Any questions before we vote?
I just have one sort of question, is, how are you gonna enforce it, and what happens if they don't comply? I mean, you're still looking at this, very likely having some of the same issues that you had before, and the legal fact of the matter is that you really can't limit this.
Yeah, we can.
Well, but you don't have much in the way of recourse if they, I mean, what are you gonna do if they violate any one of these or?
Yeah, okay, let's talk that. First thing we'll do, the cars won't come through the gate. That's the first thing. We have thrown people out of the pool all year long when that rule is being violated. We have a property down in Cutter Hill that's got a pile of fines for violations. The guests and the owner of these short-term rentals are required to follow the same restrictions the rest of us follow, and the consequences are the same. So I don't feel we lack anything in ability to regulate it.
Yeah, I'll tag on to that. One of the bigger issues that we were facing was the party rental side of things. It's unfortunate some of the things that have gone on in the Airbnb scene lately. But the outworking of that has been that even Airbnb does not allow party rentals anymore, and has provided lots of ways to get in touch with them so that if that's going on, they can shut it down on their side of things. So if the company that's handling all of the rentals at the top level is willing to do that, then I think we're on pretty good ground there.
I think Phil, there's another aspect to this. So the Airbnbs that we've had for a period of time, the Cutter Hill Airbnb was just not cooperative at all. The Cutter Hill, that phase of Cutter Hill, their condominium CC&Rs actually prohibit short-term rentals, so that really kind of took care of that. In terms of the homes and the 1 or 2 homes in Chandler's that have had Airbnb rentals, for the most part, for a period of time, we actually were in a position to get actually who's coming in, how many people, things like that. So I think from that standpoint, and working this through our legal counsel, this is a good alternative. So we're not saying you can't have it, we're just saying you can have it. If you want to have Airbnb, you can do that, but these are our rules related to that. So it's not going to be from what our attorneys are telling us is we're just kind of putting it in a box and putting a bow on it and saying here it is. So and we have previously on some of the home rentals when they reached the max of how many, if we have more cars and they said we're coming in, we just turn them away. So yeah, this is not an intent to say you can't do it, it's just saying if you're gonna do it, this is the, and actually some of these suggestions came from a resident that has an Airbnb out of state and provided us with, here's an alternative, something maybe you can take a look at, so.
So, I would move we approve this resolution, pass it on to the EC for their approval.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All in favor? And that brings us to our second owner visitor forum.
I have one regarding the labyrinth.
Yes, sir.
And the first thing I gotta say is I always thought that my garage was sort of a labyrinth, but I just found out tonight, it's a maze.
Yeah.
And sometimes I can't find my way out.
That's right, that's right.
Evan had mentioned a plaque. I was wondering if for this particular, and I'm gonna go see one too. If maybe those bricks that people, they believe the bricks might be something you might wanna think about as far as donating funds or whatever.
Right, right.
So,
I like
since
that.
you're
I
talking,
like
you
that.
mentioned bricks.
Yeah,
Anyway.
exactly. I like that.
Cool.
And we foresee putting signage out there, this way to the labyrinth, or Chandler's Landing Labyrinth, and then a little one, about 8.5 by 11, how to walk the labyrinth, which would cover pretty
Right.
much what I told you.
Can you have a vending machine where you can disperse crumbs? So you can
Sure,
at least get
sure.
crumbs, find your way out.
Sure enough.
It'll only be 25 cents.
Well, Russ has.
Oh, okay.
Russ Martin, 5601 Ranger. This is kind of after the fact, but just for clarification purposes, on the budget, which this is our first month to pay the new increased fees, I pretty much understand most of it, but on, we talked about security earlier, went up 13% from last year, which is 46,000. I was wondering what that was. It's probably a good explanation, and I love security. And then the other one was our salaries. I love all the full-time guys. That went up 19%, almost 56,000. And finally, another one I was worrying about, legal went up 209%. Legal expenses. Maybe that has to do with Airbnb stuff, but those three items, is there kind of
You want to start?
On security.
Allied Universal hadn't had any increases in 4 years, and so we had to we caught up. Frankly, nobody wanted to come out here and work. They like working out here, but not at the pay rate, so everyone got a salary increase, and that's that piece of it.
Also, the first were the lowest.
Yeah, they did a market study, we did a market study, we were actually on the lower end, the lowest end of their pay scale for their accounts, so.
And then with salaries, the board approved an additional maintenance worker. We want to increase the work that maintenance is able to do in the community, so they are currently looking, or Chuck is looking for an employee. And then the increases were 4% for the individual on staff with one additional maintenance worker. That's the increase in salary. And then
the
legal
last
work
item, of
just
course, was
increased.
Kemper, 10 grand a month times 12 months is 120 grand, so that's easy to explain that. Okay.
And then there were additional legal costs this year in regards to working through some of the issues, the legal issues with like short-term rentals and some advice that we needed, so.
Thank you.
You're welcome, thank you.
On the legal things, so we have some litigation, unfortunately, against several pieces of property in the community. I think everyone's aware of that are going into the third year of construction, or nothing is happening at all. And so these are things that the board is adamant about getting resolved. It's requires lawyers and counsel to do that, and so we're just trying to be accurate in terms of what we put in the budget for it. Would prefer not to have to go that route, but we just unfortunately we're in a litigious society these days, and that's what we have to do to enforce our covenants.
Thanks.
Any other questions?
Judy?
Judy Sherman, 5554 Canada Court. I just wanted to publicly thank Evan on a relatively personal note about the logo you did for the YLM committee. It's really cool, and I appreciate it. You spent time doing that and designing it, and if you haven't seen it, check out, it's on Facebook for sure. And it's really neat, thank you.
You're very welcome.
And the other thing was, where is the labyrinth? I know I've missed a couple meetings, but I don't know where it is.
It's gonna be in this corner, right across the bricks, right here.
Oh, right here?
Yeah.
Northwest corner.
Okay, got it. I just had no idea what we were talking about. Okay.
Not a problem.
Also, maybe we could take down the holiday decorations now. Time has come.
Kind of a really good idea.
Yeah.
Can't be considered if you're out of the month if your decorations are still up. It's just how it is.
I took mine down. If I got mine down, everyone should have
Any other questions?
I've got something.
Yes.
If you don't mind. Ben Northcutt, 102 Aurora Circle. This is kind of a reprieve from all the HOA, CLCA stuff. In case any of y'all don't know, I'm heavily involved in like the chamber and Meals on Wheels and stuff like that. And one of the things I'm involved with this year is Leadership Rockwall. Is anyone familiar with Leadership Rockwall?
Yep.
Okay, so I'm in the Leadership Rockwall class of 2020. And every year, Leadership Rockwall does a civic project. This year, we're doing something, we're calling it the Big Event. It's similar to what goes on at Texas A&M every year, the big day. It's just a day of volunteering and projects and just getting stuff around the community done and knocked out at no cost to the recipient. Currently, Our plan is to have 100 different projects in the city with 1,000 different volunteers, and we're on track to get that done. The day is April 18th of 2020. If anyone has any questions about it, they can ask me after the meeting. I'll leave some paperwork up on the desk that could be posted. But it is, if you have any ideas for a project that needs to be done, you know someone in the community, whether it's in Chandler's Landing or just in Rockwall County, they need a fence repair or some landscaping done or anything like that along those lines. You can go to the website.
We have the landing.
The landing.
Yeah. I'm talking about something that can be done in 3 to 4 hours.
That's not it.
You're sitting all
Yeah.
So it has to be able to be done in 3 to 4 hours. If you have any ideas for projects, or if you want to volunteer, you can go to the website on the flyer I'll leave up here. We don't necessarily want your money, unless you just want to give money. But we do want volunteers, we want ideas for projects. This can all be submitted on the website. There are 20 of us in the Leadership Rockwall class, and these are just community leaders around different business owners. So it's going to be a great opportunity for anyone who wants to just get out there and do it. We're going to have a kickoff breakfast at the San Jacinto Plaza downtown, and then after hours, little party afterwards with food from Chiloso, food from Zanadas. I mean, it's going to be a great thing.
And
So,
Ingrid, who's another neighbor, is also.
yeah, Ingrid Binkler, she's involved in it as well. Jared Schweers is involved in it. I don't know if you all know him. There's just a lot of local business owners that are involved in it. It's going to be really awesome.
And it's called the
Big Event Rockwall.
The Big Event.
I have some flyers I'll leave up here if you want to check it out, look at the website. It's going to be a really, really state-of-the-art type trailblazing event.
If one wanted to be one of those 1,000 people, can you sign up on the website?
Yes,
or-
sign up on the website, just put your name on there, what you're in, and they'll contact you. And,
Rain or shine, April 18th.
we have an alternative date, and I'm not exactly sure what it is, even though I should know. The alternative date is, I think, the following week, same day. Every city in the county has a city leader attached to it. My parents live in Clinton Chisholm, so I said, oh, you're in Clinton Chisholm, so that's where I'm at. The city leader for the city of Rockwall projects is the fire chief, Kenneth Combs. There's also a city leader for Heath, and that is Clint Elliott is the city leader for Heath, and he's the EVP for the Rockwall YMCA. So if any of y'all want to, shoot him an email or shoot Kenneth Combs an email, and anything that you know of needs to be done, trash pickup on empty lots, just anything. Some of the examples what we're doing is we're putting down doing some anti-skid taping on a handicap ramp at the Hope Clinic. We're building a shed for donations at the CAC and Women in Need, because they have sheds but they leak, so every time it rains they have to throw all their stuff out.
Oh.
So little things like that. So doing some fence repair for some Meals on Wheels.
Are those she sheds?
I didn't want to say that, Phil, but that's not in my man language.
Oh, okay.
It's a shit.
Phil knows about it.
Phil knows about shit.
So
it's stuff
sure
like
as
that.
shit know about she sheds.
So if someone needs their yard done, or someone needs their address painted on their curb again, stuff like that. Anything that you think in the community needs to be done, we can get it put on our list and handled.
Thank you for sharing that.
I'll leave these up here on the desk when it's over.
Have we got a date yet for the spring yard sale? Because it's usually around that time.
We don't have it yet, it's on our list after, it's April 25th. You got it.
April
Yeah.
25th, okay, so it's
good.
not, okay, good.
But it could be the alternate.
Yeah, it could be.
Not for you.
Yeah.
Let me find out what the alternate date is.
Be 8 to 12 again.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions? Or comments? All right.
Good meeting.
Thanks,
Motion
everyone.
to adjourn.
I'll second it.
All in favor? All right. Thanks for coming out today. Appreciate it. You're welcome.
I'll still be standing back there. Told you I'd be here, I better be when I got here.
I tell ya.
Let me get out of here.
Here you are. Good to see you.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you for your help.
Thank you.
Yeah, back to work, I'm busy now.
Get a break, man.
So you're talking about different boards coming in?
Election, as long as we plan out the management.
The problem with this one is.
Thank you for bringing this to my attention.
Great shit, man. I don't know how you're gonna do it.
We can make sure to leave it up here, this last one I have, I'll bring some more, I'll bring them to staff, so you can come by and pick one up.
The majority of the board is one time.
Well done, Barry.
it's not the end
It says that we could, yeah. It says that we could put on, assistant putting staff and stuff back here.
They are.
It doesn't have, it doesn't necessarily have to be someone who's legal, you know what I'm saying? So,
Well, that's why I look at
At the last week, I wasn't sure what.
yeah. And as much as Scott and Billy are involved in the chamber,
I've always had questions in the last 2 years.
I mean, Billy walks in the chamber, they want to chair.
Oh, yeah, and same with
You guys run
I'm on the board, so we're all. January 31st.
Well, you decide to give us off the farm face, but. You know, I mean, I'm talking about.
I think it makes sense.
Yeah, that's the garbage.